All right, delighted to see you again, Sri. How are you?
Great. Good to see you, Mark.
Thanks. First of all, thanks so much for participating in our leadership series and giving your insights, your perspectives to our business audience, which I think they'll really appreciate and value. Uh, let's just hit it. Can you start by introducing yourself, a little bit about who you are and your background?
Sure. My name's Sri Kaza. I'm a Senior Vice President at Tax Credit Co. And my role at Tax Credit Co., I lead our sales marketing, business development, as well as our WOTC business line and our training grants business line. A handful of pretty interesting roles, all kind of bundled into one. The thing I like about all of them is we help kind of give value to small businesses, medium-sized businesses, as well as large enterprises. Yeah, my background is I spent a number of years at a consulting firm. I was a partner at McKinsey. I had spent time at Price Waterhouse, and I'd spent time in two different startups in Silicon Valley as well.
I've heard of some of those companies. Um, they got some names there, and I want to get into that a little bit. One thing I do ask everybody to start this, it is the leadership series, is what's your definition or perspective of leadership?
It's a good question. It comes in many sizes, shapes, and forms, but I'll kind of refrain my answer towards kind of a business sense of leadership.
Okay.
I like to think of it in three pieces, right? Leadership requires someone who can have an articulated vision that other people can get excited about, right? So it drives people who are already motivated, but a place where everyone's going to get to at some point in time. They're also really great at inspiring action. They can get people who understand the vision they've communicated to go in that direction and work pretty hard to get to where they need to go. And then lastly, I think a leader's got to be a great problem solver. Now, they don't have to have like a whole bunch of technical depth to solve technical problems, but they have to be able to look at a problem and say, there's going to be a way around it. I can help to find the people, the tactics, whatever it is to kind of solve that problem. So you
That's
think
a,
about, oh, go ahead.
sorry, that's a great definition. What were you going to add to that?
I was just going to give you a little bit more color on my thoughts on each of those things. Vision. Um, I picture, in the biblical days, you've got someone saying, "Hey, we've got to get out of this land." You got to convince a whole bunch of people that life is going to be better on the other side of that ocean. And they've all got a lot of things going on in their lives that they need to worry about. And you trying to get them to pick up and move somewhere else is not an easy task. And so one of the things that's really important, even if you've got the most motivated people in the world to work with, and I've in some of my prior roles, I've had the pleasure of having some highly motivated, highly skilled people to work with. Being able to communicate clearly why you're trying to get to where you're going and where that really is isn't easy. That's the best leaders are able to do that and can get their people behind them because it's exciting and something they want to do. On inspiring action, you find there's a whole ton of different ways to do it. You can be a great coach and mentor and motivator and get people to want to work because they're really positive and excited. Or you could be a demanding tyrant. There's some very, very successful capitalists in American history. Even today, you can pick out stories of guys who are not pleasant people, but phenomenal leaders.
Right.
Personally, I like to aspire to be on the nicer guy's side. But I find that, when you demand excellence, you get it. And if you don't demand excellence, you're really lucky if it falls into your lap.
Great point. It's interesting. I compare a lot of things to sports, and it seems like these days, and that relates to business too, is maybe both of those leadership styles can be good. The thing is, sometimes have to apply them differently to different people in your organization, don't you?
Yeah. And I know personally, I haven't gotten great at any of these things, right? I'm still learning. I'm still growing. I have a hard time being two different people. So I work towards a place. I try to put myself in positions where my style that's natural, my natural style, is going to be motivating to others. And if I'm a guy, you pick the sports analogy, I don't know if anybody of the other listeners is going to be fans of football, but that last Super Bowl you had Bill Belichick and Pete Carroll. And Bill Belichick is the guy who's like demanding excellence, gruff and angry, but he's gotten Super Bowl after Super Bowl after Super Bowl. And there's Pete Carroll, who is the player's coach, the guy's guy, the positive, everything is great, right? So those are good examples.
Yeah.
You can't. I can't imagine it's easy to go and be the player's guy in some scenarios in your locker room, and then the demanding guy in others. But I can see using certain skills from both, and I guarantee you, Pete Carroll demands excellence, even though he sounds like a guy, a player's coach, he's happy. And I'm sure everybody on the team loves Belichick, despite how he comes off, because they know that vision is that Super Bowl ring, and they're going to that promised land, and he's going to take them there.
Yeah, very true. It's funny how, as kids, we look back at teachers that we thought we didn't like, and the ones that we end up loving were the ones that were more strict and got things done.
Yeah. If you take advantage of somebody, you're really not going to appreciate them.
Absolutely. Well, you have a pretty cool background, combination of engineering and consulting from a McKinsey standpoint, and then PwC, and then corporate. How did it evolve? And those are pretty big organizations. How did it evolve that you ended up taking an opportunity with Tax Credit Co?
Yeah, Tax Credit Co is a lot like some of the other roles I've had before in terms of what we can do for our clients. Now, we when I was at McKinsey, I'd do projects, big projects. Every time I do them, I'd have to justify to the CEO or CFO how he was going to get value out of spending money on our fees. And that's the case even here. Maybe a little bit easier because the Tax Credit Co value proposition is we're going to help with a straight below-the-line tax benefit on a piece of work. So there's some similarities. But really what attracted me to the company is it has a more of an economic and community impact across the country. We can help make it easier for businesses to participate in the incentives and investments that the government wants them to partake in. So there's hiring credits out there that are encouraging employers to hire people who are on food stamps or on other government assistance, encouraging people to hire veterans. Well, they're really difficult programs to work with, but a company like this has made it a lot easier. So now many of our clients are actually doing the things to drive economic growth and improvements in our country because we've made it easier for them.
Yeah, that's great. Well, let me ask you about that in a different way. CFOs, I see this all the time for years now in my executive search practice. CFOs are certainly becoming more strategic than accounting, let's say. You hire great controllers to do the accounting. But they're not necessarily tax experts. In fact, most of them aren't. And in fact, many of them don't even want to talk about tax. They want to talk about strategy. So if you can just explain to the audience why it's so valuable for them to use expert consulting from outside to get the maximum opportunities that are out there for them and to ensure the best results for their business.
Yeah, it's never easy to take your organization and have the brightest people work on things that are not strategic. So what you'll often find is the people I get to work with, they're crazy about tax credits. They come up with very innovative solutions to what can be very high value problems for CFOs. However, a CFO has multiple strategic priorities, and most of the time he's worried about the bottom line, not what's below the bottom line.
Right.
So he's going to have his tax guys do the best they can do, but if he's not giving them the support they need or getting them experts at that level to have whatever opportunity is opened up to them, they're not asking the question, how do they do better? That's not their role. Their role is to comply and get the taxes done. So we find that just a dialogue or two with a CFO will surface a couple of opportunities to push deeper. And ideally, he doesn't have to commit his own resources to do it because he's got talented people focused on important business problems that are strategic to the company.
The types of opportunities that are out there I find fascinating, and it's like my kids are getting ready to go to college, my second and third actually, and there's grants and scholarships, all sorts of things out there. It can be overwhelming, basically, and you want all of them. There's obviously, I'm sure, certain tax credits and tax opportunities that for you are no-brainer to go after. Maybe you can explain what some of those are. And then also, I'd like you to just share what some of the more unique ones out there that might be that people would have, they'd go, really? There's something like that out there?
Sure. So the common ones that we spend a lot of our time and energy on, first one is the research and development tax credit.
Mm-hmm.
So the U.S. Federal government has had this program in place since the Reagan administration. It's been around for a very long time. Occasionally, Congress will let it lapse and then renew it retroactively. But this program encourages businesses to invest in new product development, process improvements, and other R&D activities on U.S. soil. So if you're a business today and you're trying to compete, just even to stay alive, you need to be innovating and developing new products. Every one of the businesses that's competing in the U.S. today is doing this. Now, not all of them are doing it in the U.S., but most of them are doing something in the U.S. where they're investing in some kind of product development or some kind of activity that would be considered research and development. So what we find is most companies, the large companies that we work with, take advantage, but they don't have a full purview into everything that's going on in the organization that really counts. There's so many more things that a company does that counts as research than what often companies are taking. So in the large companies, we'll work with the CFO to ask a couple of challenging questions. Well, what are the other activities outside of your R&D department? Do you do things in your manufacturing department that actually would qualify as research, or in your marketing department where you're actually developing new specifications for a product? A lot of those activities actually qualify, but companies don't know about them.
Yeah, I would think, just to interrupt for a second, I would think that there's got to be huge opportunities in a lot of those places because they're just thinking maybe manufacturing, research, and development all the time, right?
Yeah. And there's many other things that qualify. We would tend to go spend time with the large enterprises reviewing their internal software development because they're spending money on technology. It's valuable technology. It's improving process. But they're not always thinking about that as that top line. So there's the R&D credit, which is one of the major credits we focus on. We also focus on one called the Work Opportunity Tax Credit.
Right.
We call that WOTC for short, and so I apologize for using the acronym. But WOTC is a program that most companies that are large understand it, take advantage of it, but really struggle because it historically has been a very heavily paperwork-driven application. And what you'd have to do is when you hire somebody new, before you hire them, they need to fill out a government form, the 8850 government form, and then you'd need to turn that in. The employer would need to turn that government form into not the IRS, but a state agency that would validate that this person was or wasn't certified as a person in a disadvantaged category. And then you'd have to come back and get that certification. These government agencies take like up to 4 years. We've got most that come back within a year or two, but you're going to different states, sending in paper applications every other day because you're hiring people all over the place, and you're getting all these pieces of paper back, and it's very hard to keep track of. So what you find is companies are just doing it as a matter of practice, just fill out the form, send it in, if they're doing it at all. What we really want, what the government intended, was that people get screened while they're applying. They get notified whether or not this person is actually someone who you're going to get a credit for hiring, because we're trying to drive behavior of these businesses. So, we've invested a lot in the technology to be integrated to a lot of different applicant tracking systems. Companies will use these applicant tracking systems to go and screen and recruit. And so now our technology integrated into theirs allows companies to actually make a decision. Oh, these two people are relatively indifferent, except this person's in a protected category and will drive a tax credit. We'll take somebody off of government assistance versus not. And these types of decisions are what those incentives are encouraging.
So I think that's great because it's almost so obvious. You're helping the company, you're helping the person getting the job, you're helping the government not have to give wasted assistance, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, companies need to have this stuff. What's some of the more unique tax credit opportunities you've seen out there?
So these will tend to be based on the individual jurisdiction a business is located in or considering. We can talk about. There's maybe 100 different credits in the tax extenders bill that comes out every year.
Wow.
There's two that are really that we talked about that are really important in my opinion, which is that R&D tax credit and that WOTC program. But there's a lot of other ones that are kind of stapled in there. I wouldn't consider those as I'm not going to get excited about the wind tax credit or the racetrack tax credit. But what I'll tell you is a number of local jurisdictions have programs that are trying to encourage local growth or local growth in their city or state. There's also programs like California's finally got a really good program. It's not the best program in the country, but it's far better than the one they used to have, where it's called California Competes. They want companies to put together a application for a tax credit, and if they can show that they're going to be investing in new business and delivering new jobs, they can get a pre-approved kind of credit program specific to them.
Pretty cool. Is there one out there that's like off the wall type of tax credit?
Well, yeah. If you want to get to the people who own horse tracks and horse racing tracks, there are some wild off the wall credits for employing a certain number of individuals at a racetrack. I'm not sure that we have any clients that we're working on that. Our intention is to help companies, make sure that they are capturing the tax credits that they've earned and deserved.
No new tax credits for states like Colorado with respect to marijuana?
I'm not aware of any.
Hey, with your background, what advice would you give young up-and-coming leaders as to how to prepare for their career?
It's a good question. I still think of myself as that. So the advice I would give to anybody who's kind of embarking on a business career, continuing on a business career, there's a couple of things. You've got your personal muscles that you're building. I think there's your personal skills and leadership, your network, the people that you know, the people that you've got real good relationships with, who you can call on when you need them. Mm-hmm. And then you've got a resume. People are working on their resume. Like, what have I done? What can I point to that says that I'm good at what I do? You definitely want to find in every opportunity that you're working on that you're building some of those muscles. Are you adding to your network by what you're doing? Are you getting better? Are you getting some practice at something that you need to get better at? Are you putting something on your resume that's gonna create something that builds your professional muscles? So I think that's important. Think about yourself as just kind of the athlete that you're kind of really developing yourself to be better and better. Everything that you do, you need to be trying to make sure that you're getting better and better at. But one other thing that I think is kind of more important, and for me, I'm still kind of sorting this out for myself, but I think it's really important for anybody, is pursue the areas where you have motivation and passion.
Right.
So if you don't know what you're excited about yet and you're looking, great. But just remember that you're looking and pay attention to what gets you interested and what you're not that interested in. Not saying you should walk away from stuff that's not interesting, right? If you're getting a chance to build up your muscles, maybe that's the thing you do, eating your spinach. But in the grand scheme of things, as you get to growing in your career, you'll be far more effective once you get to a place where you're personally motivated, where you're excited about the stuff that you're doing. Because then when it gets down to this kind of, how do I have a vision and how do I inspire others to act, your personal passion will really flow through into getting people to go and do what you are excited about, personally excited about.
Yeah, great advice. I see that a lot. All right, these are very personal questions now. 2-word answers. Do you have a pet?
No, I don't have a pet.
My
kids are kind of my pets, but I have to treat them more humanely.
Do you have a favorite activity or sport?
Yeah, I do wushu, kung fu.
Oh, okay. I'm glad I never got you mad at me. Do you have favorite type of music?
I don't know. I guess 70s music would be where it's kind of stuck in my head from growing up. That's kind of what my go-to is. But yeah, I'm pretty broad range of music listener.
Awesome. Do you have a favorite type of food you like to eat?
Yeah, Japanese food.
So, as they say. And how about a favorite movie or TV show?
I was a comic book boy when I was a kid, so I'd go with the Marvel stuff or the Star Wars stuff. Like, they've got a TV show. I don't watch very much TV, but they've got a TV show, Shield or something. Yeah. And then they've got they got movies coming out all the time. So, that's been pretty fun. I like those.
Good choices. Hey, listen, thanks so much for participating. Really appreciate it.
All right. Hey, thanks a lot. It's good to talk to you.
You as well.